See, there's a very big difference between our
There is.
voice patterns. Yeah. What are we talking about?
We're talking about corkscrews.
We're talking about corkscrews?
Yeah.
Hold on 1 minute.
These are corkscrews?
These are our corkscrews.
That is so fancy.
I know. This
is
is the box from the basement of the wine school, and we have all of our like various corkscrews and things. Now it's not all corkscrews because
right.
But so before I know this is hilarious. It is really funny. So, but let me just put this to the side for just a minute so we can actually get in frame here. And
why don't you get closer to me?
Oh, sure. Is that better?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, you're still out of the shot though, fair amount.
All right, there we are.
There
we are. All right.
Yeah.
So everyone just saw me bringing these corkscrews, and now I'm actually in frame.
Yes.
So, corkscrews are kind of important.
They are.
Because without them, you can't drink wine.
No.
Which is, unless it's a screw top, and or as we call it, a Stilven enclosure.
Exactly.
So, now I really don't know the history. It's kind of funny that the corkscrew actually came after the cork.
Right.
Which is so weird, and I honestly don't know how people got it out. I guess they just used like a knife.
That's a good question. I don't know.
And I don't know the answer to that, but at this point, there are so many different corkscrews. Mm-hmm. And I was just wondering, do you have any particular favorites?
Oh, I use the waiter's corkscrew from my first waitressing job on.
Yeah, yeah.
You are shown how to use that, and once you learn how to use it, it's the only thing that's not super bulky. Exactly, there you have it.
Right there.
It's the most efficient. You don't have to worry about what bottle type it is. It's just straightforward. You can apply pressure really well. It's not flimsy. So yeah, that's the tried and true.
It's clean, efficient. To remove the foil,
Yeah.
And then down. I like my worm to be coated, so that it's just easier to get in. So you're not creating any. Some corks will break apart. So if you can have one that's, I think this is Teflon. And then this, but the ones I really like, and you do too, because these ones we actually designed a long time ago. It was like 15 years ago. It's got for your first push here, so that when you're opening the bottle,
you cantilever it out.
Cantilever it out, exactly. That one's the first step, and this is the second step. So it's just a lot easier to open. Because the hard thing is, and years and years ago, we had actually wine instructor who was actually, he had arthritis, and so I actually, because he would bring in like the weirdest corkscrew. So I pulled this out for him. I've had, you know how old this is?
Oh, I can't imagine.
Oh my God! I think I picked this up when I was a winemaker. I think it was like in probably 2000. But these are called the rabbit because they look like rabbits, I guess. And these are super simple. You do have to have some way to cut off the
foil.
The foil, but then it's just. So these are nice if you like. I know when I'm 80 years old and trying to get a bottle of wine, I'm probably not going to be able to use a waiter's corkscrew. They're great. They are just a little overkill for most things. I agree with you. I think everyone should learn how to use a waiter's corkscrew.
Yeah.
And you know how. So how did you learn how to do it? Because it does take some skill. How did you?
It was on the job training.
Oh, that's scary. How many bottles did you screw up?
I know in the beginning it was tough, and I would need, a more senior waitress to just back me up. But yeah, you learn pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, I actually really. When I was at Davis, when I was actually starting my degree, I actually was really bad at opening bottles. I was already in a master's program And it was embarrassing how badly I opened a bottle of wine.
Oh my goodness.
It was so bad. So what I did was I would just take an empty bottle of wine, cork it, because we have corking machines at a viticultural school.
I would hope so.
And I would just practice opening and closing it, just cork. Well, and that's how I learned. Because I would break every cork, every single cork. I would break it. Which was kind of.
Were you applying too much pressure? What was going on there?
I honestly don't know. I was so nervous. So nervous, and oftentimes we were opening bottles that were really expensive. Yeah. And everyone was watching me because my cohort for my master's degree, there's only like 12 of us. So and I was one that clearly who had never opened a bottle of wine.
Well, I think the one tip. You always want to have a towel. That's very helpful. Yep. But then also you'll see somms, presenting tableside and opening it tableside. And of course you have to do that if you're on the floor. But just if you're able to, just as a consumer, just put that wine bottle down on a flat surface and open it from there, and that gets a lot easier. It's much harder when you're holding it and trying to do everything all at once.
That's true. Oh, that's really true. That's really good. That's a really good idea. And the other thing, so I adapted the way I learned. There was a short period of time where I was actually the wine school had contracted with a bar school, a nearby bar school, to teach their students how to basics on wine service. And what I do, I just took a used cork, right? Just in a used bottle, and just pressed it back in and had them open it that way. So you can do that at home. All you need is an old cork and an old bottle, empty bottle, and you can boom. And that way you can be proficient at it. Yeah. And it's old hat. it's just so, once you learn how to do it, it's just so easy.
Now we do have here, I don't know if it's in your bin, but we do have an also. For old wine bottles.
Well, let's take a look. I don't think I actually keep losing that.
Okay.
I do. I have so many different kinds of. I have two different. I have so many of our corkscrews because we have so many from different producers. Dirty. I know it is. I know. Look, I know it's been in storage for probably 10 years. I don't think I have the also. And that sounds so dirty, but you want to tell people what that is?
Yeah, the asso is just very simple. It's 2 prongs, so 2 prongs. And what you do is when you have a really old bottle, you slide those into the neck surrounding the cork.
Yes.
And then you just really, really gently kind of wiggle it out of there. So you're not piercing the cork. Because what happens with old corks is they start to get really crumbly.
Yes.
So you want an alternative to the worm that goes
straight through,
bores straight through, and that helps you just gently glide something out.
Yeah. And my favorite corkscrew is not actually even a corkscrew.
What is it?
It's actually a way of pulling wine out without ever doing it. Without ever actually opening the bottle.
Oh, I know what.
Because I've used this, and now I'm not gonna say the brand of this because I'm not a brand fan. It's just that, so I'm gonna point this out. What this is it actually injects this is so old, a needle. Oh, let me get in the frame here. This is a needle. It's actually a surgical needle. It's a surgical, medical grade needle that injects into the cork. Oop. And then you press this lever and injects argon into the bottle, which forces the wine out a little spout right here, boop, so that you can actually have wine without ever opening the bottle. I love these, especially for when we're doing sommelier programs online. Mm-hmm. I recommend every student has one of these because they save so much money. Yeah. They'll save hundreds of dollars because that way they only need a little bit of the wine. We can use the same wine for different purposes, and it's a great investment for that kind of thing. Especially, if you're a wine industry professional, you have. Now, I'll say they claim that you can store the wine for years. Mm-hmm. I find it's actually closer to 3 or 4 months.
And you store it upright after you use that.
Absolutely. Well, because argon sinks. The reason why it works so well because it protects the wine as you're pulling from any oxygen. have that argon sits right on top of the wine. So you want to have your wine upright so that the argon does its job.
Okay.
It'll last for months and months.
Yeah.
And, but there's always problems. Like, there might be a little bit of bacteria on the needle if you're not clean. And so, but definitely a couple months where you can actually get, a couple glasses, keep going.
Any other ways to save wine? Because that's expensive.
It is. You can open a bottle and just spray it with argon too. That works.
Yeah.
They have, and it's you want to get food grade argon or medical grade argon because the welding stuff there'll be some toxic metals in that. So you want to stay away from that.
Great.
But yeah, you can buy this stuff online. It's not expensive.
Yeah, I've seen it at the wine shop too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's another way. And that will give you a couple weeks, but you'll have to spray it each time you pour out because the argon will dissipate.
Sure.
And the other thing I would recommend if you're doing that is swirl your wine a little bit because you can get some bottle sickness because argon will, if you put too much in the bottle, using that system, it'll actually push into the wine itself, and that will give a flavor of basically nothingness of the wine. It'll taste weird and blank. You have to give that a good swirl, heavy swirl to make sure that all dissipates.
Got it.
And that's bottle shock. That's if anyone ever heard that term, because when we're bottling commercially, we're shooting argon into the bottle before the cork goes in, which helps preserve the wine, but it also it'll actually push into the wine by the pressure, and it'll basically semi-carbonate the wine. So you want to wait till that pushes back out, and that takes a few months in a bottle.
Okay.
That's called bottle shock. But if you just have it, with one of these injection systems, it'll just a good swirl
Give it
of wine.
a swirl. All right.
Yeah. But yeah.
Interesting.
Right?
Interesting.
I love it. I know. I love corks. I do. I love corks.
Do you feel strongly about corks?
Well, corks too, yes. Oh, I do. Well, because real cork is amazing, and I love that. And there was so many problems about 10 years ago with cork infections causing, I was noticing 5%.
Wow.
Failure rates in corks. But, and I really do not like composite corks.
Yeah.
And I actually had a wine of mine that I made, under contract when I was working in California, actually degrade very quickly because it was under one of those rubber corks which everyone was using at the time. This is over 20 years ago, and the wine I originally got an 89 points. It was like a $15 bottle of Cabernet, so it was a great price.
Yeah,
it was an 89 points. It was a great deal, but by the time it hit market, because of those corks, it tasted like Saran wrap.
Oh,
I was so embarrassed.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Oh, it was. I don't have that choice. I would never have used that.
Yeah.
That's the owner of that brand's choice. I have no, I don't have any say on that.
Yeah.
But I was heartbroken.
Yeah.
Because, that's the kind of thing, you're like, I made this. It tastes like cellophane.
Oh.
So bad. That and I really like screw caps.
I do too.
I love them. They just work really well.
Yeah.
All the hype of that they're going to affect the flavors. That's not really true.
Oh no.
All of that was was the big business, the cork millennial industry or whatever that. No, it just
big cork.
Big cork. Oh yes. That's my nickname. Oh, seriously. I think, I love, the technology that I love the most that didn't get adopted is actually the glass.
I know, yeah.
Those were beautiful.
The glass tops.
The glass tops. They perfectly, because they sealed perfectly, they resealed as well. But just that, the bottling lines, you have to completely buy a new bottling line, and that's tens upon tens of thousands of dollars. And it was, and it wasn't in, it just didn't get adopted.
Yeah.
It really, so I was sorry to see that not happen.
Folks who were more interested in sustainability were trying that out.
Yeah.
But it's a shame it didn't really take hold.
Yeah, a few places, once in a while I'll still see one, but it's a rare sight. It's like one in every 500 bottles.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I am sure everyone has their own tales of cork issues or wine keys, and I'm sure people have their own favorite wine keys. I mean, I've written for the wine school. I've actually written articles on that.
Yeah.
But so if anyone has any favorite wine keys or any horror stories about corks, please just let it.
Well, speaking of the biggest one,
what?
Well, is when it breaks off and stays in the bottle. What do you do?
That's true.
Yeah. What do you do?
Well,
I mean,
okay. Well, yeah. You just throw it away. No. No. Well, actually, I've had a number of times this happen.
Yeah.
Especially, first off, especially when you're in public. Like if I'm teaching a class, and I have an old bottle that I had to open in front of like 20 people, I'm probably going to be nervous. It might break.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, especially old bottles, might be a little weakness in the middle of the cork. So the first thing, actually, just to prevent that from happening, actually, I'll take off the foil and see how deep the cork is. Because if it's a really deep cork, I want to make sure that I go almost all the way to the bottom.
Yes.
And to pull up. That'll give me enough force.
Right.
And because, I have done that where it's like a huge cork from an old bottle, and I've only gone the normal route way in, but even if you pull off, you can still, using a regular corkscrew, if you're gentle enough, you can still pull it.
Yeah.
You can still catch and pull the rest out.
Sometimes.
The better you are at it, the more you can do it. If you're just calm, you have to be really calm to do that.
Yeah.
Now, if you have cork in it, what do you do?
Well, I have had it where you're mentioning like you're in front of people and your nerves are running a little bit high. And if that does happen, when I go back in for a second second bite at the apple, it has happened to me where it just falls into the wine.
What do you do?
So in that event, you just strain it. You strain the wine.
Oh, yeah. What do you typically use?
A strainer.
A strainer? Like a metal strainer? Or handheld metal strainer? Yeah. Not like a filter. I know some people use like coffee filters. I don't think that's a great idea.
Just a regular filter. I mean, you just want to make sure you pick up all the particulate from the cork. So just a fine grain, kind of like a cocktail strainer is great.
Well, one thing I've done when I didn't have a strainer is I used a fork.
Oh, that's so smart.
Right?
That's so smart.
You'll at least catch the big bits.
That's so smart.
Yeah, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I've had that. Yeah, I've done that. Not that I've ever broken a cork or anything.
Right. Big cork over here. Very cool. That's great advice.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, that works really well. The other thing that I'll do is I'll decant it. Like not into like a fancy decanter, but actually like I usually use lab equipment because that's what I have.
Beaker,
beaker, something like, and just because oftentimes you can get you can see it coming in,
right?
And you can slowly, and you can actually even with your fingers like boop.
Yeah. But again, steady hands. You got to stay calm.
Yeah. That works as well. And then if you get it all out when you decant it, then pour it right back in the bottle. If no one's watching, then nobody will know it happened.
All right, folks. Well, that was super fun. I like it.
Well, absolutely. And as I was saying before, look, if you have any horror stories about corks or corkscrews, let us know in the comments.
And your favorites.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And also, by the way, yes, make like and subscribe because everything that we do is awesome.
Yeah. Bye.